Hello everyone, today we will be continuing our discussion of fair division games with the lone chooser method. Now, the lone chooser method, in a way you could think of it as being kind of almost the reverse approach to the lone divider method for fair division games with 3 or more players. Basically, the central premise of the lone chooser method is that we are going to split the assets between all of the players that are not the lone chooser, and then they're going to divide it into subshares, and then the lone chooser is going to pick a share from each one of them. So we'll look at what that kind of looks like. We're going to revisit the same example from the last video where we have our cake in 3 parts, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and these are our 3 players, A, B, and C. And then this, same as before, A likes all 3 equally, B doesn't like strawberry, it likes chocolate 3 times as much as vanilla, C only likes chocolate. So the first step in this process is we are going to randomly choose one of these players to be the lone chooser. So let's say, for now, that A gets randomly picked to be the lone chooser. Once we've done that, the next step is basically going to be players B and C splitting up this cake using the divider chooser method. So let's say we are splitting this between B and C with C as the chooser, or sorry, C is the divider and B is the chooser. Now C only likes chocolate, so if we ask C to divide this into 2 equal shares to split between C and B, C is going to just split it in such a way that the chocolate section is divided in half. So at this point, B is going to pick which one of these sides they like better. Since B doesn't like strawberry, but they do like vanilla, this side's going to go to B, this side's going to go to C. So these 2 sides, or these 2 halves, are equally valuable to player C, but to player B, this half is more valuable than this half. So now, the next step is players B and C are each going to take their parts that they got, and they're going to divide it into 3 subshares that are equally valuable to them. So player B has this half of the cake, so we've got chocolate and vanilla, and then player C has the other half of the cake, so we've got chocolate and strawberry. All right. Basically at this point, we'll start with player B. So player B likes chocolate 3 times as much as vanilla. So in the mind of player B, we have this part that is basically 1 half of the chocolate portion of the cake. Since the chocolate portion of the cake is worth 3 times as much as the vanilla portion of the cake, that means that half of the chocolate part of the cake will be worth 1.5 times what the vanilla part is worth. So that means this chocolate part is going to be worth 60% of their share versus 40 for the vanilla part. So how do we divide this into subshares that are equally valuable? Well, basically we just need to make 3 shares that are each worth 33% of this to be. So in this case, player B is going to say, okay, well, the vanilla part's worth 40%. A subshare of this would be worth 33%. So 33% over 40%. That is going to give us %82.5%. So basically, 82.5% of the vanilla section, we'll just kind of roughly mark that as right around here, is going to be part of the first subshare. And then, similarly, if the chocolate part is worth 60% of this portion of the cake to player B, 33% over 60%, that's going to be 0.55. So a little bit more than half of the chocolate part is going to be part of one of the subshares. So we'll call this subshare 1, subshare 2, subshare 3. As you can see, this method can get a little bit on the complicated side when we are dealing with something where one player does not necessarily value all parts of the assets equally. So next we have player C. Fortunately with player C, things are a little bit simpler because player C only likes chocolate. So player C is basically just going to split this so that the chocolate part is divided into thirds. So we'll call this subshare 1, 2, 3. So now B and C have divided their parts of the assets into 3 equal subsets for each person. So now the last step is player A is going to pick one of the subshares from each of these two other players. So since player A values all 3 flavors equally, player A is basically just going to pick the biggest piece for each of them. So player A is going to pick shares 1 for both of these. So these 2 are going to go to player A, and then player B will keep the rest of this. Same thing, player C will keep the rest of their portion. This method, in my opinion, is a bit more complex than the lone divider method. However, it is still useful to know because it also guarantees that each player is going to receive a fair share of assets in their mind, just like the lone divider method does. Thank you for watching, and if you have questions, I'm of course happy to help.